Welcome all you wonderful dissidents. I just wanted to make a quick video kind of surrounding the Paul Pelosi ever-changing story and narrative. It appears that, as they continue to release information, and if that information is quickly picked apart, they will delete the information, take it down off the internet, or claim that it was misinformation, or a mistake. Which, if something is true, you should just be able to release it and it stand on its own merits. And at the end of the day, all this could be, quickly cleared up, and the mystery and all the conspiracy theories around it would vanish almost overnight if they would just release the footage. Release the footage around the house, which apparently they have like 28 security cameras. Even the Capitol Police have the ability to monitor them, but apparently nobody was watching the cameras at the time, but they were still recording. So where's the footage? The body cam footage from the cops, where's the footage? I have no doubt that there are cameras also inside the residence. Where's that footage? All this would just show us to our bare face and our lying eyes exactly what happened and what didn't happen. Instead, they're trying to craft a narrative, and it's very convenient considering the timing of October and the elections coming up. I don't think that they ever really intended this to, go down in the history books as some ultra MAGA Republican extremist assaulting the Pelosi's. I think that they just needed it to stick until the election so they could spin it up and, paint the violent right as the person that they need to get out to the poll, or get their leftists out to the polls to vote against. Otherwise, it was going to be blood in the streets, as if that isn't already the case. So I just want to show you a little couple news stories, and we'll try to keep it short. All right, let's get into it. All right, so we're on InfoWars over here. I just want to bring this up because it's interesting to me. It says NBC quietly removes report claiming Paul Pelosi walked away from police, did not immediately declare emergency. So this was the thing that they reported, and they within a day took it down. As of today, it's already down. They posted it yesterday. So the Paul Pelosi attack continues to grow more bizarre by the day. On Friday, sources familiar with the investigation told NBC News that when the police responded to the high priority call, they had no idea they had been called to the Pelosi residence. What's more, Pelosi did not immediately declare emergency or try to leave his home. So, let's see. All right, so here's a clip from NBC. I think this was released yesterday, Friday.
Craig, good morning. When officers arrived here at the Pelosi home exactly a week ago today, they initially didn't have any idea exactly what was going on. They knew they had a high priority call on their hand. What was unclear, what was happening inside the property just behind me.
This morning, Paul Pelosi is home, back at the house that became a crime scene a week ago today. NBC News learning new details about the moments police arrived. Sources familiar with what unfolded in the Pelosi residence now revealing when officers responded to the high priority call, they were seemingly unaware they'd been called to the home of the Speaker of the House. After a knock and announce, the front door was opened by Mr. Pelosi. The 82-year-old did not immediately declare an emergency or...
Again, the question's begged, where was the security? It's just too impossible. It's too impossible for me to believe that around the Speaker of the House's main residence that there's not any security, even when she's not home. We have reports from people who've been to the home even when she's not around that there is a heavy security presence. There's also reports that there's like 28 cameras around the residence. I don't know if those include cameras inside the residence or not, but either way, they're not releasing any of the footage.
Tried to leave his home, but instead began walking several feet back into the foyer toward the assailant and away from police. It's unclear if the 82-year-old was already injured or what.
Now, are those the actions of somebody who's called the police for help? So the police get there, announce themselves, you answer the door, and instead of rushing out of the residence, leaving your assailant or the person who is threatening violence to you behind you, putting the police between you and him, you instead back up towards him. That doesn't make any sense.
What his mental state was, say sources. According to court documents, when the officer asked what was going on, defendant smiled and said everything's good. But instantaneously, a struggle ensued as police clearly saw David DePape strike Paul Pelosi in the head with a hammer. After tackling the suspect, officers rushed to Mr. Pelosi, who was lying in a pool of blood.
What we do know is he brutally attacked Mr. Pelosi and attempted to kill him.
After spending several days in the ICU, Pelosi, who is recovering.
You know, if that man right there would actually do his job and cared about not just the politically powerful people that could advance his career, maybe the city wouldn't be an utter shithole.
From a fractured skull and serious injuries to his arm and hand, is now home, where Capitol Police remain on alert. Investigators have previously said Pelosi did not know DePape when the 42-year-old broke into his home. Why Pelosi didn't try to flee or tell responding officers he was in distress is unclear.
Fear takes over. Fear freezes people.
This morning, the 82-year-old.
Fear does take over, and it does freeze people. That's not in question. What's in question here is, why did they take something that could possibly be true? A crazy person could have tried to break into the house, having bought into some aggrandized hero complex that they were going to end up saving the Union or whatever by apparently going after Nancy Pelosi, and so that could be true. A lunatic could have broken into the house. It doesn't make any sense to me. There should have been security around the house. Alarm system should have gone off. The cameras, there should be footage of it. And if that is the case, like literally there's a person smashing it into the windows of Nancy Pelosi's house to get inside, you think that they would be quick to release that footage to verify their story. Why they wouldn't release the footage, the only reason I could think is because it doesn't comport with the narrative that they're trying to push. What the truth could be, I don't know. But the problem is they've tried to politicize this. They came out the gate trying to politicize it and demonize half the country. And so now they want us on good faith to accept this story, and a story that literally makes no sense at all.
Lucky to be alive after an intruder nearly killed him in his own home.
Law enforcement officials tell us the bottom line here is this was a terrifying situation. We still don't know exactly what unfolded between Mr. Pelosi and the suspect for the 30 minutes they were alone inside that house before police arrived. Officials who were investigating this matter would not go into further details about these new details. Craig, back to you.
Yeah, one thing's for sure, though. He is lucky to be alive, Miguel Almaguer for us.
Yeah, he's lucky to be alive. Just not too long ago, he was drunk as hell, speeding around in his little sporty Porsche and totaled it, endangering everybody in his neighborhood. He didn't give a fuck about anybody else's safety at that time, but now he's being painted as a saint and somebody that we should be taking pity on. To be honest with you, if the law enforcement and justice system worked the way that it's supposed to be, supposed to work, he wouldn't even been home to be assaulted. He would have been fine. He would have been in jail, in a jail cell, just like anybody else that does these kind of crimes. And so it's kind of hard to find sympathy. Do I wish violence upon anybody in their own home? No, but at the same time, I can't muster two fucks to give about what happens to Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, or any of them, especially when they're living in their palatial mansions that are literally stolen through passing laws that hurt the American people, but yet will help specific companies that allow Paul Pelosi, who is an investor, to take that inside information, which is illegal for anybody else, but apparently not illegal for Congress people, and use that insider information to put their money where they're going to get the biggest turnaround. It's why combined they're worth $250 million on paper. It says the Capitol Police cameras caught the break-in at Pelosi home, but no one was watching, which is interesting in and of itself. And it is also interesting to know that they have apparently 1,800 cameras, which probably is a super low-ball number. But so there are cameras on the home. I'm sure that they have their own personal security cameras, and as well as the Capitol Police cameras. So all this is caught. All this, there's footage of all this. It'll be interesting to see if we ever get the footage, and then what that footage looks like. I think that it doesn't comport with the narrative that they're trying to create of an ultra crazy MAGA conservative trying to assassinate Nancy Pelosi, and that's why you're not seeing any. That's why you're not seeing it. If it did, if it backed up the story, I believe that, you know, they would have already released it, and it would be in a million campaign ads, and that they would be running with it, because I mean, to be honest, it's pure gold, you know. And so the fact that it doesn't fit the narrative, or I believe it doesn't fit the narrative, is why we haven't seen it. So if you have any ideas on what happened, any fun conspiracy ideas, or any other, you know, interesting facts around it that maybe I haven't touched on here, maybe drop them in the comments below. If you like this kind of content, I'd appreciate a sub and a like. And with that, I hope everybody's having a good day. Peace.